Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sejahtera. Konnichiwa. Kami ucapkan selamat tahun baru Cina dan juga selamat hari wilayah kepada yang menyambut tahun baru Cina dan juga hari wilayah kepada warga Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya dan juga Labuan. Jadi seperti biasa bersama saya Asma selaku penyampai program dalam segmen Anjum Pagi Dewan Perniagaan Melayu. Program Etika Keusahawanan Terbaik daripada Jepun. Jadi sedar tak sedar kita sebenarnya dah episod yang keempat. Jadi mana yang baru ikuti kita dalam program Etika Keusahawanan Terbaik daripada Jepun, ini adalah slot di mana kita akan bagilah sedikit gist-gist. Apakah etika-etika keusahawanan terbaik daripada Jepun yang kita boleh belajar, things that we can adopt and adapt in our daily life, especially in terms of working environment, business and the culture itself. Jadi seperti biasa, ini live dan kita akan tinggalkan rakaman lah ya di Facebook Dewan Perniagaan Melayu untuk dirujuk semula. Jadi mana yang nak tanya soalan ataupun nak komen ke dan sebagainya, ataupun nak tinggalkan support ke, nak tekan butang like dan sebagainya, dialu-alukan. Jadi andai kata nak tanya soalan, boleh tinggalkan di ruangan komen. Kalau saya tak boleh dapat jawab sekarang, kita akan jawab pada episod yang seterusnya ya. Okey, jadi kita kan dah episod yang keempat. Jadi episod yang keempat ni kita nak belajar tentang apa? Kita nak belajar tentang komunikasi. Di sebelum ni, episod pertama, kedua dan ketiga, kalau yang mana sempat tengok dan bersama-sama saya sebelum ni, ialah kita dah belajar tentang sapaan, seni sapaan, macam mana, kenapa dia penting, image dan etika mesyuarat, dan kita dah belajar juga kalau contohnya first time, ada business meeting dan sebagainya, bagaimana nak tukar name card dan mana how to treat the name card properly. Tak ada ambil buang ataupun letak dalam poket seluar kan, tak boleh. So yang mana yang tertinggal boleh ikuti rakaman tersebut. Okey, jadi episod pada kali ini kita akan bercakap tentang komunikasi, communication, the art of communication. Communication ni sebenarnya satu seni jugalah kan, sebab dia tak ada satu jawapan yang betul, tapi dia ada guidelines-guideline-nya yang mana kita perlu ada etika dan manner bila kita berkomunikasi. So dalam episod kita kali ini lebih sebab kita ke etika keusahawanan terbaik daripada Jepun kan, jadi kita macam fokus sikit kepada Jepun di mana what is to be expected. Contohnya kita liars dengan company Jepun ataupun kita bekerja dengan syarikat Jepun, bos kita Jepun ataupun klien kita, customer kita Jepun. Apa what is to be expected? Apa yang mereka fikir sebenarnya? Apa mindset orang Jepun sebenarnya? Jadi sistem komunikasi Jepun ni yang kita akan brief lah sebenarnya. 30 minit ni sebenarnya tak cukup. Kita macam sebenarnya perlukan beberapa hari, berminggu-minggu untuk menguasai sistem komunikasi ni. Tapi tak apa, kita trailer sikit lah ya. Okay, jadi pada hari ini saya Asma tak keseorangan. Kita ada tetamu khas. We have our distinguished and honorable guest joining us today. Let us welcome to the studio Mr. Homma Yusuke, the General Manager of Gakken Classroom Malaysia and Thailand, also known as my boss. Thank you so much, Homma-san, for joining us today.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me today.
Okay, so for all information, Mr. Homma Yusuke, saya akan address dia sebagai Homma-san lah ya. So Homma-san ni apart from being the General Manager of Gakken Classroom Malaysia and Thailand, he is also have spearhead multiple national Japan and international Swedish companies as well, and have more, I think, plus minus 10 years, right, Homma-san experience across management in various fields and multi-venues. So he will share, I hope he can share with us today a little bit his wisdom and his experience, how is Japanese thinking, how they Japanese communicate, and what to be expected when communicate with Japanese. Kyo yoroshiku onegai itashimasu.
Konnichiwa, yoroshiku onegai shimasu.
Okay, so jadi pada hari ini kita akan bercakap campur lah ya. Homma-san, kita cakap bahasa, kita cakap English, kita campur bahasa Jepun sikit. So jadi sikit sebanyak Homma-san ni ialah bos yang sangat supportive lah. So this is what I've learned from him also is what I'm sharing with you guys throughout this episode of Etika Keusahawanan Terbaik Dari Jepun. So for Homma-san, do you mind telling us and also our audience a little bit about your background so that they can know you well?
Okay. Good afternoon again. My name is Homma. I'm a general manager of the Gakken Education Malaysia. So actually, I've been in Malaysia for 3 years now as a general manager in education field. So mainly, I used to work in the Japan as like a different company as well. But always I work for like a global company to work with like other country people. And after joining this Gakken, I worked for like a different country, such as like India, Myanmar, or other country as well. And the last 3 years, I'm here to work with the Asma and the other like Melayu people to develop like our program, which is like our Gakken education, Gakken classroom, which is like a mind enrichment center for small kids. So last 1 or 2 years, it's quite tough moment, but they try to like struggling to expand everything, and still working on that.
Okay, thank you so much, arigatou gozaimasu, for Homma-san introducing himself. So I think we are so honored to have him today, and he is, I believe, the right person to talk about communication because he's been to all over the place, right? So he can share with us a lot about communication topic. So let's get started on this communication topic. So communication, I think it's really important, right, Homma-san? Right, because no matter how expert you are, for example, you are the best engineer, you are the best architecture, you are the best, even the best salesperson or even the best trainer, if let's say you cannot communicate well, the communication is not flow smoothly inside the company, inside the organization, you yourself cannot move to the next level. The company itself cannot move to the next level because it's stuck with one person, right? And there are a lot of problems happening, and some more with globalization happening. For example, right, Homma-san is a Japanese. He need to go to India. And India also have a different culture to Malaysia. Malaysia also have different culture. So communications is become more and more important, and then we need a guideline, right, in terms of how to communicate well, how to suit ourselves so that we can get things done the right way, effectively and also efficiently. So for me, like for example, communication, if we can say the organization is like a machine or a robot, for example, communication is like an oil, that lubricate the movement, and then without the oil, perhaps the machine is going to explode, right? And in the end of the day, yes, for example, we in a factory, we are producing cars, we are producing electronic devices. In the end of the day, the one that gonna move all of these is human. So we are dealing with humans, and this manner and ethics in communication is a must. So usually 80% of the problem root cause is communication. As talented as we are, I always like one of my seniors previously mentioned that as talented as we are, mind reading is not human core competency. So sometimes, right, we expect people to understand us. He should know, our boss should know, he should understand, this is common sense. But common sense is different from Asian, every person, right? Someone, if let's say you have a different background, even for example, we are same, for example, in Malaysian, Malay, right? So, but everyone has different backgrounds, and it's not core human competency. Well, I wish I'm Professor X, can read, have the telekinesis and all that in X-Men, right? But unfortunately, we have yet to have that technology in real life, right? So Homma-san, as a general manager and also coming from your background itself in management, why do you think it is important to have effective and efficient communication in organization?
Mainly, of course, like the communication is quite important. As you mentioned, that to proceed like a project or whatever task, we need to make a good communication. Otherwise, of course, like as a manager, we cannot, stand by all people to know like what they do every time. So that like of course it will be better to get like a good communication and a good reporting system, and not like every detailed information, but at least like we need to get like a milestone how they proceed everything. And then also like to make like some communication which make like a good connection each other, to rely on them or trust them, believe them, how they can work for.
That is true. That is true, right? Somehow when we are part of the organization itself, just merely communication, getting report and all that, we also need a good relationship, right? Inside the company. So again, if a human is not a mind reader, boss also, Homma-san also don't know what I'm thinking unless I'm telling him, right? So I cannot assume that Homma-san should know this, but he's not. He will not know unless I tell him, right?
So we cannot read like their mindset, what they think about it. So we don't know like what we can find behind their smile.
That's true. That's true. Sometimes smiling, right, and then actually a lot of problems behind. Okay, in other words, we cannot assume people, right? Sometimes we assume people know. We assume they should know, but no, they don't know, right? Unless we talk about it. Again, human is not a mind reader. So yeah, we need to use our mouth to communicate to each other. So what you can foresee that what are problems, for example, when communicating in workplace from your experience, what are problems that happen in workplace when communicating?
Yeah, of course, like always happen the different program, but even like we work with the Japanese like the same background people, depend on the department or depend on the position, they have like a different perspective. So even like we would like to insist like what we would like to do, it happen like something misunderstanding, and then have like some confliction as well. Especially after I moved in Malaysia, they have like a different background, different culture stuff, different regions, whatever. So they have like a different point what they would like to respect it. So especially like we work for like education field to promote like to market our product. The strong point is like looks a bit different depend on their background. So I try to focus on all of the people can understand what is like what we would like to express to them.
That's true. That's true. Because everyone have a different background, like you mentioned, like different perspective. And then for me, this is important. But then if let's say we look at the bird's eye view, like eagle bird's view, right? So this is actually how the company organization prioritizes. So that's why communicator is really important, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And like for example, what I can say is that when we communicate in workplace, for example, staff, boss, or even between department and all that, yeah, different positions have a different perspective. Like for example, staff perhaps they only care about the task at hand, but then if like the supervisor, I have to. What about this stuff and this stuff? How's the connections? And if let's say maybe the department boss, how's this project gonna relate to this project, right? And for example, like Homma-san mentioned just now, and also for example, what I can foresee when from based on my experience, my little experience is that, for example, when we communicate, problems arises when it's less information. For example, when maybe staff reporting to the boss or talk to the boss, and then it's less information. So in the end, people don't understand, right? So when we even communicate with customer also, less information, not enough information. So people don't understand what we actually trying to say, and then it creates a problem. And then, for example, other than that, maybe delivery method, right? So maybe my style of delivery perhaps is different from what people prefer. So that also can cause a problem as well. And then maybe the time of delivery, too fast or too early from the project. Yeah. For example, this is already at this stage, and then too early, not enough information, and then in the end will create problems, right? Because it's not the right timing, and then sometimes it's too late. it's a bad news. For perhaps some problem occurs, and then keep to yourself. Hopefully, my boss will notice it. And in the end of the day, like, we could have bigger problems. And then like, why don't you tell us earlier, right, Homma-san? And then other than that, from what I can say is that this is what I've been not been told before, is that the flow of information. Like, for example, okay, I would like to tell a long time ago in a far away, but then it's it's not organized. Like, I tell from different background, but then I don't organize my informations, for example. So in Japan, they call it what, dara, like, why are you, Asma-san, why you're talking so dara? Why not you just talk about the conclusion first? Like, what are you trying to say? Right. So in the end, people don't understand, and then maybe the way of delivery itself. And from my perspective is that when we talk, like when we communicate, like even like Homma-san mentioned just now, right, we have to suit. The content is the same, what we trying to prioritize, what we trying to deliver, but then the way of delivery, perhaps sometimes we need to suit to what our boss style is, perhaps need to suit to the client style is, or other people's style is. One of my boss like storytelling type, but my style is like direct type. So I have a point, but he needs to know the story behind, blah, 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 blah. So I learned that the story behind it. What do you think, Homma-san, on this?
Actually, even in Japan, we learn how we should report to the boss. So when we are like a freshman, we always learn about how we can report it. Okay, start from the conclusion, and then also what is the point, like what is the detail. So we always learn about like how we can report to the boss as well, not to waste the time, as you mentioned. So of course, we always care about that. If we learn about like that kind of reporting system. At the same time, when we see the people in Malaysia, they also try to do like a reporting, but I always care about I don't have to check every single step what they do, but I always try to make like a clear milestone. So what is a key factor to report it? So what I need to know as a manager. Otherwise, I cannot take a responsibility for them. I cannot push them to take a responsibility. So what is the point not to make a risk?
That is true. So I think Homma already talk like a little bit what we're gonna share with everyone today. One of the tips right, is start by conclusion first. Right. So when we talk, usually we talk from our perspective, not like the whole story, but not necessarily important to the work, the projects related. Sometimes it with our opinion and then emotions, and then how we're being affected. But does it relevant to our boss? Does it relevant to our projects, right? So so let's see the next step in Japan, what Homma-san mentioned a little bit just now. So we're gonna learn a little bit about that. So the things that we're gonna learn is a system, actually a framework, right? A framework that usually when new staff in Japan or even a Japanese company, they've been trained for the whole week. I think 2-3 weeks from my side. I think I've been trained like 2-3 weeks how to inform, how to report to your boss, how to and all that. And then like Homma-san mentioned just now, how to start from conclusion actually. And this system, we call it as Horenso. So let's watch a video. What is actually Horenso?
By the way, have you heard of Horenso? Not spinach, Horenso? This is a Japanese business mantra. Ho stands for Hokoku, which means reporting. Ren stands for Renraku, meaning informing. So stands for Sodan, meaning consulting. This is quite popular and well known across Japan. So in many cases, in Japanese business situation, you are required to follow this mantra. The punchline is Japanese managers expect to receive frequent communication.
Okay, so that's basically what is Horenso. Okay, saya akan tunjukkan slide. I'm going to show like a little bit of slide so that our audience can understand more about what is horenso. So just now the video mentioned like, oh, not a spinach. Actually, the pronunciation of horenso is is similar as spinach, bayam lah kan in Malaysia. So jadi ho bermaksud ho koku, ho koku, report lah, report, informing. And then ren ialah ren raku, communicate, contact. Dan last kali ialah sodang, consult, seeking for advice. So jadi selalunya kalau 2-3 weeks when you start to enter Japanese company ke whatever, they will train you on this. Okay, how to communicate. Oh, this is horenso. Please do horenso. So like I think your first year in a Japanese company, right, Homma-san, they're gonna not pressure lah. They're gonna stress on this, like horenso. So in Japan, right, they categorize lah how to communicate so that we can do the communication efficiently, what is important, right? And it's not actually easy, like we mentioned just now, right? It's not actually easy communication, like just talk lah, just report lah, right? But then if let's say we do not have the framework, if let's say we do not have the guideline, we're gonna talk the whole story and then, so what's the point from this, right? So having a framework, right? Having a framework is people will be more aware and then know what is important. Although we're not really good in communication, but if let's say we have framework in our mind, oh, I should start with this. Oh, this is the part where I should start to report. Oh, I need to inform and all that. So people will be more aware and then know the importance of this. So again, like Homma mentioned just now, it's related to business as well, right? To make business proceed smoother, and then business to grow, and then we ourselves can improve our communication and sale itself. So okay, this one I'm gonna show is basically the loop lah of the communications itself. So first, number one, we'll start with shiji. Shiji is order. Of course, like when we enter a company and all that, we're gonna start somewhere, right? Usually from the boss lah. Yeah, a project. Okay, I need to you do this from number one. And then number two is hokoku, belah kanan tu. Hokoku. So kita kena report. We're gonna go in details later. And number three will be renraku, contact, and last but not least will be sodang. Okay. So next slide. Okay, saya tu color merah lah ya. Okay, so shiji from boss lah. So when we receive confirmation or order or maybe projects from the boss, for example, so we need to confirm first with the boss. Like for example, we take memo, right? Then don't just like okay, understand, but do you really understand? So you need to take memo. Maybe you can use 5W 3H questions. What is this? Sometimes maybe boss just, okay, Asma-san, I need you to do this. But then, unless we ask, okay, actually when is the deadline? Then perhaps boss also have a lot of things to think, right? So, and then maybe he also slip from his mind or her mind to talk about this. So you need to ask, confirm back by when do you want this? This is actually, after this, I will report you on this. Is it okay with you? So you need to double check. What do you think on this, Homma-san?
Yeah, right. But mainly, what I concern is like always, actually like the shiji is like an order, which is like the company achievement. So what we need to do as a company task. So that I always care about like I always inform like what is the purpose, what is the reason why we need to do this one, and then after that just set the timeline.
That's a really good point. Like meaning we not only maybe we when we become boss, or we as a boss, or maybe business owner, we give order or give instructions lah to our staff. We need to make like why is this important, right? So that they know not only just follow the instruction from the boss, but also know the contents, and then they can be creative to find solutions when there's a problem arises from this problem, right? It's not like one by one. Oh, so boss, how this one, right? So in the end, like oh my god. How is this gonna proceed? And then next step will be hokoku. Hokoku. Report, informing, melaporkanlah in bahasa Melayu in a timely manner. So the key point is a time lah. Right? The time has to be meaning that cannot be too late, cannot be too fast. So what are the things we need to report and then inform our boss or maybe a supervisor or maybe client, even client, for example, once the process is completed or maybe there's a new development, when there's a problem arises, right? Even bad news, not only good news, bad news also, things not going well, you need to inform so that if let's say there's any problem arises, we can solve it faster, not like, oh, okay, then finish, right? So it will become a problem to the company. And other than that is, this is what Homma mentioned just now, is conclusion. You need to start with conclusion first. So before like, okay, for example, got bad news, don't be panic, calm down for a while, okay, organize in your head, okay, what is this conclusion? What does it include? What is the conclusion from this? What I want to report to boss? Is it related to the project or is it just my emotions, right? And then try to organize first, like, okay, what, when, where, how much, whom, who is affected, and all that. Then inform to the boss. If not, what are you trying to report actually, Asma-san? Right. And then you need to differentiate between facts and also your opinion. Right. Sometimes like, this is my one, that's why I become sad. So actually, what you're trying to report, Asma-san. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a sayings that hokoku wa gimu, meaning that hokoku, informing, is a duty lah, satu tanggungjawab, it's a responsibility. If not, we're gonna start with order only, and then it will not become a good loop lah to complete the project. Right?
Yeah, right. As you mentioned, the point of view for the reporting is like the last news must be like the fastest to report it.
That's true. Time, right? So if let's say we keep this, hoping that maybe because of some magic, people gonna forget about this. No, people won't forget about this, and then later we'll be what's happened with this project?
Yeah, true.
Right. So Homma-san, I want to ask, right, like when you go to other companies in other countries, for example, when you first come to Malaysia, right, maybe you met with a lot of staff that maybe new staff that is not familiar with this Horenso system framework, right? So how do you make them, not actually, bombarded them with Horenso, but maybe the reporting itself, like after this timeline, after this one milestone, okay, you need to report, or make them familiarize that this is actually your responsibility to inform everyone, to inform the boss. How do you make them familiar with this informing system, Horenso system? Hokoku.
Oh yeah. Sorry, it's freezing now. Okay. What I cared about the reporting system when I moved here, mainly, even I don't use like a Horenso, the wording, give them the framework first, how they have to report it, and what kind of timing they have to report it. So what kind of information I would like to know. So not give them just like a framework. I always explain about what is the purpose and what is the goal, and then what is a key factor for me to evaluate them. Of course, like a lot of people's motivation can be like how company evaluate them. But I need to make it clear first what is like a key factor.
That's true. Sometimes like we feel that, I already work hard on this, but then the company is like, actually, no, we see from this point of view. And then, no, I really work hard on the decorations. No. Actually, we want to see how much you get profit from here. Right.
Yeah, right. So we don't want to say like, it's no meaning.
Yeah, that's true. And then the next that's really important, right? We as a boss, right, we need to make sure, okay, what's the deadline? How is this important? What are the key factors? Like if let's say rephrasing from what Homma mentioned just now, and why is this important, and how we evaluate you, right? So that they can have a clear pictures of where this is going. If not, they will like go with their own understanding, and in the end, like create the problems in the communication itself. And next process is renraku. Renraku is context, communications, meaning that, for example, as simple as everyday working, for example, meeting time change, or maybe you want to take holiday, phone, call from the clients important, and you just need to put the facts. No need so much your opinion on this. It's just like information, so you need to report on this. So and then we can use like, for example, group chat, WhatsApp, and all that, or maybe some companies prefer to make it their own communication system. Some company use like, for example, Monday.com, Asana, Trello, and all that. You can use that. So that, but the most important part is that in Iraku is that make sure that that person get the message. Sometimes, in a WhatsApp group, and then sometimes the WhatsApp gets lost its way with, other news and all that, although that WhatsApp group is for work, and the message got somewhere missing in the middle with all the news or latest gossip, for example, right? So you need to make sure that the information is being delivered, and you yourself being part of the WhatsApp group itself. I know some people have a lot of WhatsApp group. You need to distinguish what important and what's not important, and then you make sure you need to be aware of what's happening in the group, or maybe the message that being delivered to you. So maybe as a boss also, maybe we as a supervisor, maybe we as a company owner, we need to create an ecosystem that easy, not only the tools itself. Yeah, we have a lot of tools in this world, but we need to create an ecosystem that is easy for people to do this, even for Hokoku, for informing, even for Renraku, right? Right. Even if let's say we as a boss, maybe we're not approachable, or maybe okay, don't like this. People like, okay, I shouldn't bother you with this, and then they will judge that information. It's just perhaps not important, but it's actually important, right? Okay, and then next one will be Sodang. The last part, Sodang, meaning that consult, we get advisor. So I think this is really important, right? Sometimes like maybe we as a staff, I'm also a staff, sometimes like so reluctant to talk to the boss and all that. But of course you have to distinguish this is work related lah. Yeah, not like other things related. But other than that, of course you can consult them. For example, consult your boss on that. But if let's say we talk about the work or maybe business related per se, is that we don't overwhelm ourselves with the problems. Like for example, we got stuck somewhere and all that, and then we just think. In the end, actually when we get advice, maybe the boss or maybe the supervisor have encountered this before, and then it's actually just simple only, you can just do this. But instead, if let's say you just overwhelm yourself with this, think too much on that, and it just make you stress and it gets you nowhere, right? So it can be about the project itself, can be about the work overall. So maybe sometimes, right, I can see also based on my experience that maybe like my colleagues itself and then previous colleagues as well, that no need lah to ask the boss ni, and then actually for me lah, right, because I've been trained by the Japanese before, is that consultation, seeking advice is actually a sign of trust, meaning that I trust you. I lower myself a little bit to ask for your advice, and actually boss or other people are quite happy to get that kind of questions, meaning that I trusted enough to give you an advice. I've been acknowledged by you to give you an advice. Right. So, and also after getting advice, of course, you have to say thank you. And then if let's say you follow the advice, you just need to inform the result. And then one of my father also, and also my supervisor from previous job also mentioned that this is actually the good words, keywords lah, like a good mantra that you need to practice. If this is the golden words, is that, may I ask your opinion? May I ask your opinion? For example, boleh saya tanya pendapat? Boleh saya dapatkan nasihat? May I get your advice please? For people like, oh okay, I'm trusted enough to give you an advice. So what do you think on this, Homma-san?
Yeah, correct. It can be like a golden word actually, but at the same time, actually this framework, like Horenso, is like a both way communication. So as you say, the reporting or informing and the contacting for everything, which is not only for staff's duty, of course, like a manager's duty as well. And to catch up like a consultation or the contacting, it's quite important, but sometimes what they need to consult is like they lost the way how they can proceed it. So mainly what we need to do is like we just fix the direction to achieve the goal.
So it's meaning that we cannot just like, okay, burden ourselves with that. And then if let's say we seek advice, even maybe from our colleagues or even boss also can get advice, right, from the staff, right? Maybe, you know, boss maybe more to the management, but we have staff maybe perhaps expert in this, for example, digital marketing, perhaps expert in sale, perhaps expert in maybe project management or maybe engineering products and all that. So both also can get advices as well, and then it can be solved. We can clear up everything smoothly, right?
Yeah.
And then
especially like, as a Japanese company staff, when I work with like the Malaysian company, always I need to get the opinion from the staff, how we can compromise, how we can harmonize with the culture stuff. Because of course the Japanese HQ is aiming to spread the culture about the Japan, but at some point like we need to change it. We need to be flexible. So what we can do is like we can respect like the staff's opinion as well.
I believe the staff also is happy, right? When get, oh, okay, you asking from you are in a high position, but you ask me to get the advice, like it's a sign of trust, lah. I can say. Yeah. So the keywords, golden words that I always use. May I ask your opinion? May I get your advice? And it works every time.
Probably so, yeah.
So anyway, next part we're gonna talk about. This is really important since we have Japanese here. We would like to ask, right? Also, Homma-san also mentioned about that when he first started working in Malaysia or even in other country. I think there's a lot of clash of cultures, right? For example, okay, yes, from the Japan we have these order instructions, but we have to be flexible, but not lose the contents itself. Maybe we maintain the why, maintain the what, but perhaps we're being flexible with the how itself, right? And so that we can achieve the goal. And for all information as well, Japanese company, for example, they are really prioritizing on the process itself. So meaning that we would like to get update, we like to know how's the process. This is what I see when I become the bridge or middle person between Malaysian perhaps and also Japanese itself. Sometimes Japanese were like, okay, what's the update for this stage? But then Malaysia is like, wait first. And then we want to wait until we can deliver a grand result, right? But for Japanese side, like anxious already, become like worried, okay, what's actually happening? What's really happening in the middle? And then I would like to know, because they believe that if let's say we can know the process, we can control the process, or if let's say there's a problem happening somewhere in the middle, we can avoid worse scenarios, circumstances that will be happening later. So for Homma-san, when you first come, for example, to Malaysia, for example, how do you see the difference between Japan way of communication or also maybe Malaysian way of communication?
So as you mentioned a little bit, like a Japanese company care about the process. But in my experience, I used to work with the other countries' company as well. But mainly, especially Japanese company and also the traditional company, who really care about like the process and then also the result as well. So how they do the every day, every single day, what they do. But at the same time, if we try to do like a same way in other country or especially in Malaysia, they feel, oh, boss doesn't trust me what I can work for. So that is of course like a pro con. So I cannot say it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. But as much as possible, I try to delegate them to do by themselves. And the good point in Malaysia is like mainly I work with the people is like a quite open-minded. So I think like they grown up like a different background as well. So they already get used to respect like a different culture wise and how they can harmonize it. They quite open-minded. So some point we need to stress like to do Japanese way, but they can understand what is a way for the Japanese company. They can understand it, then they can follow it. So it can be like a quite flexible.
Yeah, Malaysia, we are known for being flexible, right? Because perhaps we're living in a multi-diverse cultures, and then we know, okay, yes, we not necessarily, for example, follow 100%, but we try to respect other country, but how we can
make effort to do that.
Right. Make this happen, and then what's the end goal? Let's celebrate this diversity, and then let's achieve the goal, right? So for me also is that work is not only delivering products, right? If let's say for our company in Gakken itself, not only delivering service, but also the horenso part, hokoku dan raku, sodang, which is confirming, informing, communications, and also consult is also part of the service itself, like even to the clients, even to the colleagues itself, and it will create a great environment and positive atmosphere. Yeah, and then other than that, what I've been always received FAQ, frequently asked question, is that maybe we are Japanese are too micromanage, right? We every step of the way you need to get informations and all that, and then that's a culture part. And other than that, maybe we as a business owner, we as a boss, maybe as a supervisor, sometimes like we feel there's a lack of trust, right? Maybe new staff and all that, our staff, and then can I trust this person? And then we tend to want control every step of the way. So this, in other words, is micromanaging. So how, in your opinion, based on experience of Masang, that we balance this micromanaging stuff?
Yeah. Of course, like a Japanese company try to do so, like a micromanagement, and then to catch up like every single step. But of course, I try to trust them first as much as possible. But at the same time, I try to check by myself what is a key factor. So at the first, I prepare like what is a milestone by myself for them. So for example, like a deadline is like in 2 weeks, I give them the reporting time in 1 week first. So to check like, the status, and then still have a time to fix it if like, it's not proceeding well, or if we need to fix like the situation as well. So try to make a buffer and then give them the time to do by themselves.
Meaning that the keywords is trust first, right? Although perhaps a new style, but we make a time allowance lah, right? Time allowance, maybe the deadline is in 2 weeks, but then you make a time buffer, time allowance, so that you can, anything happen, we can have this extra
time
week to fix it.
But actually, we need to show them like how we can try to believe them. So even if we just say like a verbally, oh, I believe you, I trust you, then still keep requesting to report every day or every hour, the behavior, and then like the wording is not matching. That's so as much as like show the attitude, how we can trust it.
That's true. That's really good. Meaning that yes, we have a deadline because in the end of the day, we work in a company, right? We need to deliver it somehow, right, within the deadline, and then we need to deliver the products or service. But also at the same time, when the boss trusts us, like for example, Homma mentioned just now, it's actually developing the staff creativity and also problem solving skills itself, right? A time, a space for them to think by themselves, but also at the same time, of course, you have to follow the why, the goals, the directions. It's really great. Yeah. So if let's say the audience out there, penonton-penonton di luar sana, if let's say the boss, for example, give you instructions, for example, try to work this out. Yeah. Okay. So and other than that, last but not least, is that now, we are in the not so similar like before. Right, mostly right now after the pandemic, we have most people are work from home, right? And then some companies also make it hybrid. For example, maybe 2-3 days come to the office, the rest you can work from home. And even some tasks, like for example, maybe you work in a design or digital marketing, not necessarily. Some companies like, okay, you just work from home, but we create a communication system from this. But in your opinion, right, because we can't really see people physically, and then when we see people physically, we go out lunch together, we talk about your family and all that, like a rapport. But then we create a good relationship of trust. But then when this work from home era happening, can we still practice this horenso? How are we gonna practice this horenso?
As you mentioned, when we work in the office, we always have a time to have a chit chat or catch up a small information as well. But after work from home, we don't have so much time to do that. Of course, we cannot do verbal communication so much. So mainly we in our company we try to set the regular meeting more, and then to update the information compulsory. At the same time, in manager side, try to make the assignment for each staff, and then try to check about more task based company.
That is true. Although we work from home, not necessarily we are disconnected from the company, right? Because the managers still need to know, hey, what's happening out there, right? And that's a good point. Meaning that maybe we as a business owner, we need to set, some maybe regular meetings each week, for example. Not 2-3 hours, maybe 30 minutes or 40 minutes meeting, just to get everyone updates, right? And also like Thomas mentioned just now, is that each task milestone is different, and then set when is the reporting time for that individual.
Yeah, right.
That's really good. And also from what I read as well, is that when we communicate with during work from home time, is that when we text, for example, make it everything concise, meaning that, or not, maybe in the office we're like, okay, how are you today, have you eaten or not, how's your family, blah, blah, blah. Then we talk about our work, right? Because it's verbally, there's no pause in between. But then if let's say, for example, we are texting, perhaps we can just text in one go, not hello, how are you? Like, okay, what is this person trying to say? So maybe if let's say you want to Raku, for example, oh boss, actually I received information that the timing is changed from this or this or this. Are you okay? Don't need to right? That's really great. Okay, so I think we already near to the end of our session today. So what we have learned today, ladies and gentlemen, is that we learn about communications. Communication is really important. I think it's not really enough for 1 hour, right, to talk about this communication, because it's a huge topic. And I know Masa want to talk more about this too. And we also learned that not having a good communication will affect the environment of the office, for example, our profit, our company performance, right? Because in the end of the day, we are dealing with human. Although we are producing cars, electronic devices, or even services, by the end of the day, we are dealing with human Hence, communication manner is really important when communicating. And we also learned today that there's a framework in Japanese that always been practiced. And as if let's say you're a new staff in Japanese company, you will be trained on this, how to report and all that. Ho-renso. Okay, the system is called ho-renso, whereby ho meaning hokoku, informing, melaporkan lah ya. Renraku communicating, meaning that kita menghubungi, we communicate, we contact, and also last but not least is sodang. Sodang is consultations, minta nasihat, seeking for advice. So the golden words is, may I ask your opinion? But of course, not like every time, every day, may I ask your opinion, right? You have to think by yourself as well, make a conclusion, organize yourself in your brain first. Then, okay, what's the point? Oh, this is where the part I inform. Oh, this is the conclusion with the part I communicate. And this is the part where I do seek for advice. So we hope that from this short sharing session from my side and also from Homma-san is that we can try and apply ourselves in perhaps in our, if let's say we are the business owner, right? We can try to apply in our business, or maybe we are a staff as well. We can try to inculcate this in our way of communications in the office and then see how's the difference, right? So, and by Horenso as well, right? The boss, the manager can know our potential, our strength, right? Or maybe Asma is not good in this, Asma is good in this. So maybe in the future, the boss can delegate to where I am good at, right? So any last words from Homma-san?
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Any last words from Homma-san before we end this session today?
Yeah. Thank you very much for having time today. And I hope like everyone can understand what is a horenso. And please remember the golden word. May I get your opinion? Maybe it can make like good communication and make the communication smoothly each other. Because this one is not only for the staff, including the manager, to make like all organization communication can make like a smoothly, I believe it. So I hope like you can apply this small knowledge to your place as well.
Thank you so much, Homma-san. Thank you so much for joining us today and spare your time in the midst of busyness. And yeah, that's all from our side. Terima kasih tuan-tuan dan puan-puan kerana sudi menonton episod kita yang keempat, iaitu berkenaan komunikasi dan juga Horenso. Jadi mana yang tak sempat ikuti secara live boleh ikuti secara rakaman. Kita tinggalkan di Facebook Live Dewan Perniagaan Melayu dan kita jangan lupa kita ikuti episod seterusnya minggu hadapan hari Selasa pada hari dan waktu yang sama, dan minggu depan kita akan bercakap tentang apa? Kita akan bercakap tentang Hanse, muhasabah. Macam mana muhasabah dalam Japanese organization ni? Okay, jadi itu cerita minggu hadapan. Terima kasih pada hari ini. Thank you so much, Homma-san.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you guys next week. Mata raishu desu.